session is called to order. May we request the Honorable Ibrahim Ali remain standing for the singing of the national anthem and the Bangsamoro hymn.
اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه اللهم وفقنا الله لما تحب وترضى اللهم وفقنا غدا يا الله اللهم لا تجعل الدنيا أكبر همنا ولا مبلغ علمنا اللهم اصلح لنا ديننا الذي هو عصمة أمرنا واصلح لنا دنيانا التي هي معاشنا واصلح لنا آخرتنا التي هي معاشنا اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang magiliw, ewas ang sinakanan, alam ng puso sa titik mo'y buhay. Upang hinirang, kuya ka ng magiting, sa mandulupin, di ka pasisigil, sa nagatak tutok sa simoy at sa langit kong pagaw, ay tinatang tulad, awit sa pagkayang minamahal, ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nagtitindig, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pang ay di magtitindig, luman ang araw ng walhagin pagsikla, mo'y langit sa piling mo, ang inigaya na pagkay mga amin, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Simula noon hanggang ngayon, isa ang naging layon. Magkaisaan magulong, karitingan ay marugtong. Tumayo tayo mula sa hamon ng nakaraan, niyapos ang panganib na umalang. Pinangako sa puso at paniniwala, ang ginhawang para sa kabataan. Bangsamoro ay tagumpay, bunga ng pawis, sugo at buhay. Kapayapaan, katarungan, ay ating nang nakamtan. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, pagpalain Bangsamoro. Bangsamoro, Bangsamoro, lagi kang mamahalin. Walang pipigil sa damdamin, mga pangako'y tutuparin. Habang buhay kami sa'yo'y magbabantay, mananatili sa puso't isipan. Ang kahapong humimlay na nagbuwis ng buhay, nasa piling ka ng may kapal. Bangsamoro ay tagumpay, bunga ng pawis, sugo at buhay. Kapayapaan, katarungan, ay ating nang nakamtan. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, pagpalain
Secretariat is directed to determine the existence of a forum.
The members of the Parliament, the Honorables Abbas Adnad,
Present.
Abbas Haron,
Present.
Abbas Zulkanay,
Present.
Abbas Basit Sari,
Present.
Abu Mujib,
Present.
Adiong Jor Rahman Alonto, Ahang Abdullah, Alamia Liza,
Present.
Alauddin Fat, Ali Ibrahim, Ali Lanang Jr., Ali Eddie Mapa,
Present.
Alil Cesar, Ambuluto Suarto,
Present.
Juan Baitan, Anayate Susana, Asmawil Muslim,
Present.
Balindong Ali Pangalinan,
Present.
Para Hamid Abidodin,
Present.
Basta
Ay, no.
Present.
Murahan Abraham, Gandaw pa Imaleha,
Present po.
Dandamon
I'm
Lapit
present.
Magsama,
Sulat ko sa siya. Ay na, let's up. Siya daw niyan mute. Abot look. Look na din kasi siya ano.
Ibrahim Ahod,
Kung kasi ano ni. Kung kasi
Ismail Ahadji
Ito
Abdul,
at na takali ko. Namit man ano.
Kaya Kaduna,
na yan.
Kera Edward, Asin Abdul, Hasan Natinil,
Present.
Iqbal Wager,
Present. Kagiuan.
Ismail Rasul,
Nanay ko pa.
Jajuri Raisa,
Present.
Jakilan Muslimin,
Present.
Jikiri Albaki, Karon Bainon,
Present.
Lidasan
Present.
Muslimin, Loong Don Mustafa, Lorena Jose Ribani,
Present.
Makako Abdurauf,
Present.
Makapahar Abdullah,
Adir.
Makaraya Jamel,
Present.
Makasalong Marjani, Manguda Dato Kadafe, Mantawil Malik,
Present.
Mastura Dato Takaw, Mastura City Sara, Mawali Lamil Bahar, Midtimbang Dato Midpantaw, Mitmog Rasul,
Present online.
Mujahid Abdul Muhmin,
Present.
Munoz Hussein, Uranon Suaid,
Present.
Pakasa Mabayda,
Present.
Pak Abdul Wahab, Mangandaman Nabila Margarita,
Present.
Ramos Diamila, Rimbang Sultan Edrisa Nazer, Sakar Modayaw, Salinda Said, Sali Al Said, Saliga Romeo, Salik Ali,
Present.
Sangki Ali, Sani Punduma, Satar Al-Zad, Sema Omar Yasser,
Present.
Sema Romeo, Sheikh Said, Silongan
Present.
Sulaiman Ali, Tago Paisali, Tan Nabil, Uja Sahi, Ulama Milan, Usman Asfar, Jacob Muhammad, Joaquin Narcisa.
Mr. Speaker, with 21 members, we physically responded to call and 46 responded via Zoom. Mr. Speaker, we have a total of 67 MPs responded both physical and virtual. We therefore certify, Mr. Speaker, there is the presence of quorum.
With 67 members of the BTA Parliament present physically and via Zoom, and with the certification of the Secretary General as to the existence of the quorum, we shall now proceed with the business for the day. Majority Floor Leader.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable Speaker Ali Pangalian Balindong, Honorable Presiding Officer and Deputy Speaker Attorney Omar Seva, Honorable members of the Bangsamoro Transition Authority, those who are physically present and those who are in Zoom, Secretariat, Secretary General, visitors, friends, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mr. Speaker, we are now on item number 6, reading and approval of journal of the previous session. Mr. Speaker, upon inquiring with the Secretariat, the journal number 52 is not yet completed, so therefore, Mr. Speaker, I move to dispense with the reading and approval of the journal of the previous session, Mr. Speaker.
Dispense? It's not yet there?
Deferred.
Yes. There is now a motion to defer the reading of the and approval of the journal of the previous session. Any second? Been seconded. There being no objection, the reading of the previous journal is and approval of the same is hereby deferred.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. May we request, we are now on item number 7, resolutions. May we request the Secretary General to read the first proposed resolution for today's session, Mr. Speaker.
The Secretary General is directed to read the title of the first proposed resolution, including the name of the authors and co-authors.
Proposed resolution number 547. Resolution urging all government and private offices within the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao to foster non-discrimination in employment on account of religion, including the hiring of qualified applicants who are pious observers of Islamic faith. Principally authored by MP Abdullah B. Hasim and co-authored by MPs Bainun G. Caron, Susana S. Anayatin, Bay Maleha B. Tandao, Kunduma B. Sani, Eddie M. Ali, Mudayaw M. Sapar, Abdul Wahab M. Pak, Rasul E. Ismail, Mujib C. Abu, Jamila D. Ramos, Marjani S. Makasalong, Abdullah E. Gayat, Muslima A. Asmawil, Don Mustafa Ilong, Maysara D. Latif, and Harun M. Abbas.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I move to treat this as a simple resolution and be transport for the business of the day.
There's a motion to treat proposed resolution number 547 as a simple resolution. There is a second. Been seconded. There being no objection, proposed resolution number 547 is transferred to the business of the day.
May we request, Mr. Speaker, the Secretary...
Author C. 547.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, may we request the Secretary General to read the next proposed resolution.
Secretary General is directed to read the title of the next proposed resolution, including the name of the authors and co-authors.
Proposed resolution number 551. Resolution urging MBHTE and BSC to develop training program for major and minor event coaches and physical education teachers to intensify their knowledge of training their athletes in their respective sports. Authored by MP Kunduma B. Sani.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I move to refer this to the Committee on Basic, Higher, and Technical Education.
There's a motion to the majority floor leader has moved to treat to refer proposed resolution number 551 to the Committee on Basic, Higher, and Technical Education. There is a second. There being no objection, proposed resolution number 551 is referred to the Committee on Basic, Higher, and Technical Education.
Mr. Speaker, again, may we remind the members of the Parliament who might be co-authors of to all those proposed resolution, just
Ang balagan ko ay.
that was
Masulat ko rin.
may we request the Secretary General to read the next proposed resolution.
The Secretary General is directed to read the title of the next proposed resolution, including the name of the authors.
Proposed resolution number 554. Resolution directing the ministries and offices of the Bangsamoro government to formulate and implement their respective career and human resource development plans towards building an effective and efficient Bangsamoro bureaucracy. Principally authored by MP Baintan A. Patuan and co-authored by MPs Liza M. Alamia, Amil Bahar S. Mawalil, Rasul Y. Mitbog Jr., Suharto M. Ambuludto, Don Mustafa A. Luong, and Rasul E. Ismail.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I move to treat this as simple resolution and be transferred to the business secretary.
There's a motion to treat proposed resolution number 554, a simple resolution, and be transferred to the business for the day. Is there any second? There being no objection, the same is treated as simple resolution and transferred to the business for the day.
May we request the Secretary to read the next proposed resolution, Mr. Speaker, including the title and the number.
The Secretary General is directed to read the title of the next proposed resolution, including the name of the authors and co-authors.
Proposed resolution number 557. A resolution extending heartfelt sympathy for the passing of Attorney Dagan Piang Dilanggalin and commending and honoring his valuable contributions as former congressman of the 1st District of Maguindanao and Cotabato City, authored by MP Susana S. Anayatin.
Mr. Speaker, I move to treat this as simple resolution and be transferred to the business secretary.
There's a motion to treat proposed resolution number 557 as a simple resolution and be transferred to the business for the day. There's a second. There being no objection, the same is hereby approved.
Again, Mr. Speaker, may we request the Secretary General to read the next proposed resolution, including the author and the title.
The Secretary General is directed to read the title of the next proposed resolution, including the name of the authors and co-authors.
Proposed resolution number 559. Resolution expressing profound sympathy and sincere condolences of the Bangsamoro Transition Authority Parliament on the demise of the Honorable Didagan Diggs P. Dilanggalin, former representative of the 1st District of Maguindanao with Cotabato City, human rights lawyer, and public servant, with MP Baintan A. Patuan as principal author and co-authored by MPs Liza M. Alamia, Amil Bahar S. Mawalil, Rasul Y. Mitbog Jr., Suharto M. Ambuludto, Don Mustafa A. Luong, and Rasul E. Ismail.
The floor leader.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I move to treat this as simple resolution to be transferred to the business secretary.
There's a motion to treat proposed resolution number 559, simple resolution, and be transferred to the business for the day. There in the second. There being no objection, the same is hereby approved.
Mr. Speaker, we proceed to the first stage of this. May we request the Secretary to read the first BTA Parliament bill, including the number and the title and the author.
The Secretary General is directed to read the title of BTA Parliament Bill number 148, including the name of the authors and co-authors.
BTA Parliament Bill number 148, an act upgrading the existing South UP Municipal Hospital in Maguindanao from 10 into 25 bed capacity and appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Principally authored by MP Romeo C. Saliga and co-authored by MPs Rasul Ismail and Susana S. Anayatin.
This is a private member bill, Mr. Speaker, so any members of the Parliament who would like to be co-authored, just fill up the paper that was included before this starting of this session, Mr. Speaker. May we request the Secretary to read the next proposed Parliament bill, Mr. Speaker.
The Secretary General is directed to read the title of BTA Parliament Bill number 152, including the name of the authors and co-authors.
BTA Parliament Bill number 152, an act establishing drug abuse treatment and rehabilitation centers in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao and appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Authored by MPs Sir Carnain M. Abbas, Maysara D. Latif, and Ziaur Rahman Alonto Adjong.
Mr. Speaker, this is a private member bill. Any members of the Parliament would like to be co-authors, just fill out the piece of paper that was distributed before the start of this session. Mr. Speaker, may we again request the Secretary General to read the next Parliament bill, including the number, the title, and the order.
The Secretary General is directed to read the title of PTA Parliament Bill number 153, including the name of the author and co-authors.
PTA Parliament Bill number 153, an act strengthening disaster risk reduction and management in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, thereby creating the Ministry of Disaster Resilience, establishing its powers and jurisdictions, providing funds therefore and for other purposes. Principally authored by MP Baintan A. Patuan and co-authored by MPs Nabil Aitan, Hatimil Ihasan, Omar Yasser C. Sema, Aida M. Silongan, Hamid Aminuddin D. Bara, Romeo K. Sema, Muhammad S. Jacob, Marjani S. Makasalong, Bainon G. Caron, Jose I. Lorena, Faisalin P. Tago, Safrula M. Dipatuan, Eddie M. Ali, Abdullah B. Hasim, Mujib C. Abu, Said G. Salindag, Maysara D. Latif, Ajfar H. Usman, Abraham T. Burahan, Siti Sahara I. Mastura, Sultan H. N. Idrisa Rimbang, Jamel D. Makaraya, Mussolini S. Didasan, Narciso C. UEP, Ali B. Sangki, Ibrahim D. Ali, Abdul Wahab E. Pak, Kunduma B. Sani, Musa K. S. Jamla, Abdullah G. Makapaar, Laisa M. Alamia, Amil Bahar S. Mawalil, Rasul Y. Mitmo Jr., Don Mustafa Ilong, Suharto M. Ambuluto, Rasul E. Ismail, Mudayaw M. Sakar, Abdul Muhin A. Mujahid, Muslima A. Asmawil, Jamla D. Ramos, Nabila Margarita P. Pangandaman, Susana S. Anayatin, Alsad T. Satar, Muslimin A. Japilan, Romeo C. Saliga, and Saji S. Uja.
Again, Mr. Speaker, this is a private member bill. Any members of the Parliament would like to be co-authors, just fill up the piece of paper that was distributed before this session started, Mr. Speaker. Then we will request the Secretary General to read the next proposed bill, Mr. Speaker.
The Secretary General is directed to read the title of PTA Parliament Bill number 155, including the name of the author.
PTA Cabinet Bill number 155, an act appropriating funds for the operation of the Bangsamoro government from January 1 to December 31, 2022, and for other purposes, authored by the government of the day.
This is Mr. Speaker, this is a bill from the government of the day, Mr. Speaker. Again, any member of the Parliament would like to be a co-author, just fill up the piece of paper that was distributed, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we now proceed to the business of the day. We are now on consideration of proposed resolution number 547, Mr. Speaker. When we recognize the principal author of proposed resolution number 547 to give an initial statements on this proposed resolution. May we respectfully recognize MP Abdullah Hashim, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, and may we request first the Secretary General to read the title of the proposed resolution. Then we will recognize MP Abdullah.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. May we request the Secretary General to read the title under consideration for the business for today.
Proposed resolution number 547 is entitled, a resolution urging all government and private offices within the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao to foster non-discrimination in employment on account of religion, including the hiring of qualified applicants who are pious observers of the Islamic faith.
We recognize the gentleman from Pagalungan.
1 minute suspension.
1 minute suspension. Session resume.
Mr. Speaker, may we respectfully recognize MP Abdullah Hashim to give an initial introduction.
The gentleman from Pagalungan is recognized. Technicians, please check the microphone on the other side.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Mr. Speaker, honorable members of the Parliament, I humbly present to you a resolution urging all government and private offices within the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao to foster non-discrimination in employment on account of religion, including the hiring of qualified applicants who are pious observers of the Islamic faith. This resolution seeks to promote and protect the rights of every Bangsamoro men and women from discrimination in employment on account of religion. This further aims to provide assurance that Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao is an anti-discrimination government and does not tolerate workplace practices that are against its residents' faith and belief. It is part of the belief of Muslims for women to cover themselves modestly, as stated in the Quran, and tell the believing women to lower their gaze and protect their private parts and not to show off their adornment except only that which is apparent, and to draw their veils all over, end quote. For those who choose to abide by this belief, their choice should be protected. Also, where the Magna Carta of Women, particularly Section 28, states that the state shall recognize and respect the rights of Moro and indigenous women to practice, promote, protect, and preserve their own culture, traditions, and institutions, and to consider these rights in the formulation and implementation of national policies and programs, end quote. That provision itself implies that wearing of hijab in any place, such as workplace, is not allowed to be banned, nor not to accept qualified applicants just because they cover themselves with the veil. In 2017, a Muslim woman was fired in just a week after being accepted in her job training. It was after she was asked by superiors to remove her veil for work and retorted she won't. Moreover, amidst the widespread campaign on protecting Muslim women who wear their veil, the sunnah of keeping the beard for men as a practice of faith deserves to get attention. Several complaints have been filed that Muslim men are forced to shave their beard in order to get in the job they applied to. Some companies impose workplace appearance policies that includes clean-shaven faces for men, preventing them to keep their beards, which leaves these men to choose between what he believes for and what he does to live. Some of the Muslim followers from among the men choose to grow their beards in obedience to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who said, "Cut the mustaches short and leave the beard as it is." End quote. This choice too should also be protected. Obeying the Quran and the Sunnah should not be a barrier for someone to pursue someone's dream job or workplace, especially in the Bangsamoro region. Choosing between work and faith should be less of a burden for everyone, especially in Barm, where the Muslims and indigenous people's safe haven should be. This resolution doesn't only aim to protect the beliefs, traditions, and culture of our pious observers in Islamic faith, but also to show the whole country that coexistence between diverse religious beliefs in a workplace is possible, and that qualifications for the job does not include physical appearance nor beliefs. In lieu of the foregoing, the immediate passage of the resolution is earnestly requested.
Mr. Speaker, I move to open the period of interpellation and debate. I move to open the interpellation.
There is now a motion to open the period of interpellation debate.
May we respectfully request MP Engineer Baintan and Paton, Mr. Speaker.
The lady from Maguindanao is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Actually, I manifested to be a co-author of this resolution, and I have just one or two questions based on the wordings of the resolution. I fully support the resolution. This is very important to remind all the
issue. Baka kailangan
in the region that there should be non-discrimination of employment in accounts of religion, religion and others. Mr. Speaker, I just want to ask about paragraph 1 and 3 of page 1 of the resolution, because there's a mention here, for example, of first whereas states here that discrimination on employment on account of religion is an abating problem in the Philippines. Mr. Speaker, my question is, do we really have a study about this? That indeed discrimination among Muslims are really happening throughout the country?
To be honest, Mr. Speaker, we haven't based this resolution on an actual study, but instead based on media reports, as well as first-hand accounts of people that we have interviewed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the response. My second question, Mr. Speaker, is on the third whereas, which says that whereas a Muslima has been terminated from work for disobeying. Mr. Speaker, can we be enlightened on this fact?
So this is actually based on a news article of a known news agency, and they have reported this specific situation, and this was acquired last August 2021 in that online news source.
What may I, MP Baintan? Disobeying what? I'm not sure if you have the same copy. Disobeying what?
I think there is a missing word, disobeying what particular action or order or?
In the copy that I am holding, it says here, a Muslim has been terminated from work for disobeying a company's request to remove her veil or hijab during working hours.
Oh, I think we need to correct the hard copy that was circulated earlier because it's not included here. So it's good that the premise has been established and there is a footnote of the particular source of this claim, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much. That's the only clarification I want to ask, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, MP Baintan. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may we respectfully recognize MP Mawalin po.
The gentleman from Tawi-Tawi is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have just one clarification on the resolution. Because if you are to read it from an outsider point of view, it seems that there is an ongoing discrimination that is happening within our jurisdiction. So just to put this on record, and maybe the proponent can enlighten us, and also just to dispel the impression that there is really discrimination that is going on within the Bangsamoro government, particularly the hiring of employees. Mr. Speaker, may I know on what triggered this resolution? What particular events within our jurisdiction?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Actually, conversations with people that I know and stories about their experiences. I will not name the actual agencies, but it is not actually in BARM. The problem is not in BARM because obviously we are just new, and but there are stories of people that are required to shave their beards, for example, to be accepted in some in that specific line of work. And as a person who is not perfect, but we try to follow strictly Islam, it is hard, especially for a person like that. So it is a big challenge for one who chooses to grow his beard, but at the same time continues his work. So we decided to draft this resolution to put emphasis on this matter.
So the incident happened within the BARM government, Mr. Speaker?
Not within the BARM government, although within the region.
Okay. But as for the BARM regional government, there is no incident of such, Mr. Speaker, just to put this on record.
As far as I know, alhamdulillah, there is no incidents. And it is also clear in the organic law about non-discrimination about religion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So this resolution is an attempt to prevent such from happening, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, it is an attempt to prevent such from happening, Mr. Speaker, and also to foster such non-discrimination in employment, especially that BARM is growing, and we will be expecting to have private businesses, for example, which will hire Bangsamoro people, and we wish for their rights to practice their religion and how they choose to do it to be protected.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I have one follow-up question, Mr. Speaker? So when we talk about discrimination, Mr. Speaker, we are talking of being inclusive, Mr. Speaker. I have no objection on the resolution, but I'd just like to clarify because we are talking here of non-discrimination policy that we urge these line agencies and private offices to follow. But there is a specific mention of the Islamic faith, Mr. Speaker. Do we also recognize and acknowledge other people of different religious beliefs, Mr. Speaker?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, we actually acknowledge, and in the beginning part of the title, it's on account of religion, and this is in general. But we are, at the same time, we also want to put emphasis on similar situations as what we have given example in the resolution. So more on the Islamic faith believers.
Okay, Mr. Speaker. Do you believe that this resolution is an affirmative action for the Muslims in?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I believe that this is an affirmative action for the Muslims.
But do you also recognize, Mr. Speaker, that the Muslims form part of the majority of this region, Mr. Speaker?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have no further questions.
Yeah, before I recognize the Minister of Labor and Employment, may I ask, can we just generalize this resolution, not to focus merely on employment? Maybe this would be much better if there will be a general description in the title, not to focus on employment only.
Mr. Speaker, actually, I'm open for suggestions, amendments. I'm open for it.
Yeah, because I have been to places that discriminate against Muslims, particularly in property ownership. There are places that don't sell their properties to Muslims. They don't allow Muslims to be their neighbors. So the Minister of Labor and Employment is recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Majority. So first, medyo na-compo tayo dito sa resolution na to, but first, thanks to MP Hasim. So as far as the Ministry of Labor and Employment is concerned, Mr. Speaker, alhamdulillah, wala pa rin tayong na-receive na complaint from the different establishment that merong discrimination. In fact, meron tayong divisions on the consolations and invitations. Until now is wala pang complaint from any private individuals or employees from private merong cases for discriminated. So second, the Speaker, is the Ministry of Labor and Employment is medyo meron po tayong polisiya this policy to prevent these issues on discrimination. So in fact, during the every time the meetings of the tripartite body from the government, private establishment, and the workers, ay parati po natin ito pinag-usapan to strictly follow the policy of the Ministry of Labor and Employment. So I think kung these resolutions, sabi na matibis, kasama po ito doon sa yan practice. Last ko natin, for information, Mr. Speaker, last week din is nasa merong establishment processing plant in WAO, is Dole processing plant. So masaya po tayo, Mr. Speaker, because 50% ang kanilang hiring is 50% is Christian, then 50% is Muslim. Then those Muslims working in that company, Mr. Speaker, are wearing hijab, hijab. So yung po yung, at least doon sa kampanya po natin, Mr. Speaker, so dahan-dahan po. Then isang bisita rin po natin na at least isang merong places na nilagay doon sa kanilang company, that is a prayer space. So ngayon is sabi natin, Mr. Speaker, after pag-assume po natin as Ministry of Labor and Employment itong palisiya for the doon sa discrimination na issue before and doon sa pag-practice ng Islamic obligation is inshallah dahil yung mga implementation, Mr. Speaker. And inshallah, dito sa labor code natin na propose is nilalagyan kasama na po yan sa mga provisions of this proposed labor code, inshallah, Mr. Speaker. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, the
Speaker.
Yeah, sorry, Madam. We will recognize the minority floor leader.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and the majority floor leader. I do not have a question, Mr. Speaker. However, I would like to speak to support the proponent of this resolution. There were questions earlier as to whether there is discrimination that is happening against, for example, hijabis in the Barm region and in other parts of the country. I can attest to that, Mr. Speaker, because I have handled cases of discrimination, not just in employment, but also in the academe, in schools. So those who are wearing the hijab are not allowed to wear them when they enter the school or when they go on duty. So for medical students and allied medical students, this has been a problem since before. In fact, this has been a problem for decades already. And several memos have already been jointly issued by CHED, for example, and Department of Health and the Civil Service Commission. But somehow, some of our hospitals, not just in the Barm region, but those regions where there are Muslims, Muslim professionals, they continue to not follow those circulars and regulations. And so I am very pleased, Mr. Speaker, that the proponent here, the gentleman from Maguindanao, has filed this resolution. And I think this resolution resonates very well, especially to the women who are wearing the hijab, who are unable to get a job, or who are unable to go to school in a school that they want, that they'd like to be enrolled with, because they are wearing the hijab, and the policy there is that hijab is not allowed. So I can attest, Mr. Speaker, even if there is no research that has been conducted, that discrimination against Muslims as minorities has been happening in the country. And so I also agree with the good Deputy Speaker that we amend the resolution to include not just the context of discrimination in a workplace, whether it is in the government or in the private sector, but discrimination also in schools and universities and colleges, so in the academe with respect to women hijabis, and also discrimination in the context of property or real estate, where Muslims are not allowed to buy, for example, or rent in properties when the owner would know that they are Muslims. So I think it is high time that we pass a resolution like this to send a very strong message to the rest of the country that the BARM does not tolerate such kind of discrimination. So I support this resolution, Mr. Speaker, and would like to be given the opportunity to provide proposed amendments later when the proper time comes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, the Sultan Idrissa Rimbang is recognized. Thank you, Madam Minority Floor Leader.
Thank you very much, Speaker Attorney Masima, Majority Floor Leader. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Mr. Speaker, ang tanong ko lang sa proponent, Brother Asim Salamat from Maguindanao, dito ba sa atin sa Bangsamoro, meron bang discrimination sa Bangsamoro?
Actually, bilang historically, bilang minorities tayo sa buong Pilipinas, nangyayari talaga yung discrimination, even from personal experiences po. Mr. Speaker, I have personally nangyari sa akin yung discrimination. Kahit wala pa yung BARM.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, palagay ko noong mga panahon ng ngayon kasi Bangsamoro, sa pagkakaalam ko, alam natin na kasama sa 1154 sa pag-autonomy natin ang yung mga kababayan natin, yung mga parang yung mga tablig na nagsusuot na natatawag na medyo kainay-nala. Minsan hindi mo makita yung mukha, pati yung mga kapatid natin na sa tablig, meron ay ngayon kasama naman yan ngayon sa 1154 na kung ano yung suot natin mga Muslim. Kalimbawa kung nag-apply po tayo sa mga agencies, nandito may mga ministry naman dito, si Ministry of si Attorney Sima, si Minister Sima, ay nasa kanila na yan kung kailangan ba discrimination dun sa mga nag-apply sa kanila. Kasi kung natatanda natin, Mr. Speaker, noong panahon po ng bombing sa Davao, ang buting mayor na si Inday Mayor Sara, ngayon ay tumatakbo na Vice President, ay nag-issue siya na discrimination din doon sa mga kapatid natin na Muslim dahil nga hindi ma-verify yung mga naglalagay na bomba. Kasi minsan mayroon yung mga kapatid natin na Muslim na pagbintangan din. So ang mismong tatay niya, pinaalis niya yan. Ang sabi ni President, ang mahal na President Rodrigo Duterte, na akaalam natin na mga Muslim ay ganyan talaga ang panunuot nila. So alam natin pagka yun nga, inulit ko po, pagka siguro sa passporting, kailangan siguro alisin yung mga hijab natin. Ang suggestion ko po, Mr. Speaker, ay total naman, maganda rin naman itong resolution ng kapatid natin. Siguro sa national, kailangan may sama natin ditong national kasi kung may discrimination sa national, pero dito sa Bangsamoro siguro, na ang mga ministry naman, ang kailangan pina-apply natin, itong mga ministry, Muslim natin kapatid natin na Bangsamoro, Mr. Speaker. Yun lang suggestion ko, Speaker, na sana isama din natin ng national kasi yun yung pangangailangan natin na discrimination. Assalamualaikum, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I move to close the period of interpellation and debate.
There's now a motion to MP as far as one would like to. Are you going to interpellate?
Just a few questions and
Fire away.
support. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mine is just a question on data. Although the Minister of Labor already told us that there is no such cases filed in the ministry on such discrimination, but I believe, yes, there are really cases of discrimination as far as employment, on accounts of religion, not only in, especially not outside of the region, Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. On that note, I would like to check why we have to urge the government, the Bangsamoro government, on this matter, as if that we are recognizing that there is a discrimination on account of religion. Please read the last result. Urging all government and private offices within the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. But in some of the cases, or majority of the cases, happens outside of the region, like Zamboanga City and Iligan City and Cagayan de Oro City. This is, I think, how we are going to tell them that this government is strongly opposing all those policies by the private sectors in those areas, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to reiterate po na this resolution does not imply that discrimination is happening under the auspices of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. And of course, we know that the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in the Muslim Mindanao is just recently established. And but instead, this resolution seeks to strengthen this non-discrimination towards, especially towards pious observers of the Islamic faith, and also especially in the private offices, which is not which is not in the Bangsamoro.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On that note, I would like to, I do not know how we are going to treat this, Mr. Speaker, although this is already included in the business of the day, but still, I would like to refer this to the Committee on Labor and Employment for them to have a strong provisions and their draft, and because I believe, I was informed that the labor code is still in the technical working group and also on consultation stage.
May I cut you in there, MP? As far there is now a motion that the title will be amended. It will not only be focused on labor, it will focus on a general application already, and probably your concern that this resolution be brought to outside of the region can be addressed by a matter of styling. There will be a portion here that copies of this resolution may be distributed to other local government units or other government agencies outside of the Bangsamoro region, so that because the title says foster non-discrimination, meaning we will announce to the other local government units that we do not agree with discrimination.
Yes, thank you on that note, Mr. Speaker. But as far as the labor malpractice on discrimination on account of religion in the employment, I would like to, again, as in a matter of motion, to refer this.
We will be amending the title. This will not be focused on labor only.
But the same, I think,
No,
because they are drafting the labor code, Mr. Speaker.
1 minute suspension. majority session resume. May I ask our colleagues to please settle down? Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to open the period of amendment.
There is now a motion to open the period of amendment in consideration of proposed resolution number 547.
547, Mr. Speaker. May we respectfully recognize MP Baintanan.
We recognize the lady from Maguindanao.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I have two proposed new whereas, Mr. Speaker, and proposal to amend the title, Mr. Speaker.
Secretariat, please take note of the proposed amendment of the lady from Maguindanao.
Can we go down? Maybe second to the last. Okay, there. After the autonomous region. Another whereas the Bangsamoro government shall protect and promote non-discrimination of Muslims outside of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. Yung Muslims letter M. Another whereas, no. After now, therefore, be it resolved, but as it is hereby resolved, then baba, resolved. No. Sa baba pa. Sa baba pa, pinakalas. Pinakalas na resolved. Resolved finally that copy of this resolution shall be furnished to the regional development councils outside Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao,
with S yung councils?
Yeah, councils. Outside BARM, for information and appropriate action. Those are the proposed amendment for the body, Mr. Speaker, and I have proposed amendment to the title.
Yeah. The proponent, what can you say about the proposed amendment? Do you accept or do you refuse?
I will. Yes, I accept, Mr. Speaker.
Secretariat, please take note that the proponent has accepted the proposed amendment. Any further amendment?
Mr. Speaker, if I may, please strike out the word shall. Resolution be furnished. Wala nang shall. Be furnished. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You have further amendment?
Yeah, on the title, Mr. Speaker. On the title, a resolution encouraging all government and private institutions, especially in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, to foster non-discrimination on account of religion and physical representation. Encouraging all government and private institutions, especially in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, to foster non-discrimination on account of religion and physical representation. That's all, Mr. Speaker.
What can you say, the proponent?
I accept, Mr. Speaker, but I would like to still include the last part of the title.
You want to retain the last part of the original title?
Wait, Mr. Speaker. I accept the
the entire amendment.
The entire yes.
Take note, Secretariat, that the proponent has accepted the amendment.
But Mr. Speaker, I will maintain my proposal until the word representation, Mr. Speaker, in order for us not to, it would become very, it would be a potential controversy later on when it comes to the other areas that are not covered by Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. So
can you repeat, especially outside of the Bangsamoro region or especially in the Bangsamoro?
Especially in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region.
Okay.
Because our call is secondary yung nasa labas, and that's why we are furnishing the copy of the resolution to the RDCs. But let's guard our own region first, then to the other.
And the proponent has accepted it, Secretariat. I think this is now a new title.
But Mr. Speaker, my proposal is until the word representation only. Mr.
Yes.
Speaker.
So you are not actually removing the last portion of the original title?
No, I am actually removing it to prevent some controversy because of the word Islamic. That becomes very deep, Mr. Speaker.
I accept the suggestion, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, noted, Secretariat. Please take note that the proponent has accepted the proposed amendment of MP Bayintan. Are there any other further amendments, Majority Floor Leader?
Can I come in, Mr. Speaker?
In the Zoom, Mr. Speaker, maybe.
Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, I think the Minority Floor Leader has a proposed amendment.
Si Deputy Speaker po, kung pwede. Oh, okay, that's all right.
We recognize the Minority Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Please unmute.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you now, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Actually, to the proponent, MP Hashim, I also have a proposed amendment on the title to incorporate what was deliberated upon earlier. So it's a resolution urging all government agencies and the private sector within the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao to foster non-discrimination in labor and employment, education, procurement and lease of real estate on account of religion, including the hiring of qualified applicants who are pious observers of the Islamic faith. And if we go down to the penultimate paragraph, so I'm also proposing an amendment of that resolved, as it is hereby resolved by the BTA, to urge all government agencies, so it is the same until the words Islamic faith, and then there's an additional resolution that copies of this policy be provided to the CSC BARM. So it's basically within the BARM, Ministry of Labor and Employment, MBHTE, MOH, MTIT, and all other ministries and agencies in the BARM, the private sector and LGUs in the BARM, and other LGUs outside BARM with Muslim populace for reference and guidance. This policy, actually, this resolution, if ever we will pass this, does not have any compelling effect on the other local government units, no, in the country. We cannot compel them. However, we can provide a copy of this policy and inform them as their reference and for their guidance that inside the BARM, we have a policy of non-discrimination. And this is the reason why I propose this amendment, Mr. Speaker. Subject to the approval of the proponent and the previous MP Baintan Ampatuan, the prior amendment that was made, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, 1 minute suspension. session resume. Proponent, what has been agreed upon between you and MP Bayintan?
So, Mr. Speaker, I accept the amendments of MP Liza Alamia, but I would wish to retain some aspects of the amendments of MP Bayintan and a slight amendment on the last part of the title.
What is your proposed amendment to the title? To the amendment, proposed amendment to the amendment?
So, including the hiring of qualified Muslim applicants, period.
So you are accepting the proposed amendment of the minority floor leader, provided that your suggestion will be retained and some aspects of MP Bayintan's amendment?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
What aspect of Bayintan's amendment are you accepting?
Let me go down. No. Yung whereas sa baba.
The new whereas clause.
Yes. Yes, we will retain this whereas clause.
Also,
and we will include the copy this. The copy of the resolution should also be furnished to the regional development councils. Include that thought in the result finally of MP Liza Alamia.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Take note, Secretariat. You have taken note of it. So, any other further amendments?
Mr. Speaker. Mr.
Yes,
Speaker.
Deputy Speaker Hatimil Hasan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, sa title lang, I would just like to see the title. Title ng resolution. Okay, can I propose a very small amendment to the title, urging all government offices and private establishments, instead of offices, establishment, and private establishments. Establishment after private establishments. After yung private establishment, no, ang private okay na, pero establishment, you add the word establishments. Establishments.
So instead of private offices, private establishments.
Yes, that's my proposal. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Majority, the proponent.
Can we go down to the accepted amendment of MP Alamia? No, the one below. That was the yes.
Yeah, MP Deputy Speaker Hasan. Actually, the proposed amendment is private sector already.
Yes, I think it is similar with the thought of it's more encompassing. And it's similar to the thought of MP Hatimil Hasan's.
Oh, so yes, my private sector na pala. Ayun, my private sector na. So there's no need yung establishment.
Yes,
thank you, Mr. Speaker. I withdraw my proposed amendment.
Is there any second? It's been seconded. There being no objection, the same is hereby adopted.
Mr. Speaker, may we proceed to propose resolution number 554. May we request the Secretariat to read the title of this resolution, Mr. Speaker. Proposed resolution number 554.
Congrats.
There is now, the Secretary General is directed to read the title of proposed resolution number 554.
Proposed resolution number 554. Resolution directing the ministries and offices of the Bangsamoro government to formulate and implement the respective career and human resource development plans towards building an effective and efficient Bangsamoro bureaucracy.
Mr. Speaker, may we respectfully recognize the principal author, MP Baintan ng Patuan.
The lady from Maguindano is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have a prepared sponsorship speech, but in the interest of time, Mr. Speaker, I will forgo with the reading of my speech. But instead, I would encourage everyone to support this proposed measure with the objective of establishing an effective and efficient Bangsamoro bureaucracy. This is very timely, Mr. Speaker, because right now we are still in the process of hiring the employees and personnel of the Bangsamoro government, and comes after the hiring is the capacity building, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I would encourage everyone to support this measure, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Majority Floor Leader, thank you. MP
Mr.
Baintan.
Speaker, I move to open the period of interpellation and debate.
There's now a motion to open the period of interpellation and debate.
May we respectfully recognize MP Romeo Saliga, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman from Datublasin SWAT is recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a few clarification from the proponent, if she is willing to respond, Mr. Speaker.
Gladly, Mr. Speaker.
Out of the ministries that we have in different offices, does the proponent has the idea of how many of them don't have the human resource development plans yet, Mr. Speaker?
Mr. Speaker, the way I understand it, Mr. Speaker, majority of our ministries and offices right now is still in the hiring process, Mr. Speaker. And I suppose that if there are human resource development plan, this is very few. But since we are still in the hiring process, Mr. Speaker, I suppose that majority of the ministries and offices do not have yet their human resource development plan.
So in other words, we don't have the idea yet as how many of them.
Majority.
May I cut you there, yes. MP Romy? So you're saying that that is just a disputable presumption, MP Baintan?
What is that, Mr. Speaker?
That
it is an assumption because we are still in the hiring process. Yeah. And I look at the announcements and most of the ministries are still hiring person, Mr. Speaker. Although some ministries have started their capacity building, but we have yet to see the plan that they have established as far as career and human resource development plan is concerned.
Duly noted.
That's the only question I have, Mr. Speaker, and I actually support this for the betterment of our different ministries. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any MPs? There is none, Mr. Speaker. I move to close the period of interpellation.
There's now a motion to terminate the period of interpellation debate. There is a second. There being no objection, the period of interpellation debate is now terminated.
Mr. Speaker, I have an omnibus motion, Mr. Speaker, to dispense with the period of amendment and further move for the approval of this.
There's now a motion, an omnibus motion to dispense with the period of amendments and for the approval of the proposed resolution number 554. Is there any second?
Second motion.
It's been seconded. There being no objection, proposed resolution number 554 is hereby approved and adopted.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, we proceed to the proposed resolution number 557, Mr. Speaker. Upon reading of the title of this proposed resolution, Mr. Speaker, there are seemingly similar resolution, Mr. Speaker. We can have a motion to consolidate this, Mr. Speaker, and if the consolidation will be approved, Mr. Speaker, we'll have a omnibus motion to dispense with a period of amendment, period of interpellation and debate and amendment, and I further move for the approval and adoption of this.
There is now a motion to consolidate these two resolutions, 557 and 559. Is there any motion? Is there any second?
Second.
There is now proposed resolution number 557 and 559 are now consolidated.
Mr. Speaker, I have an omnibus motion for to dispense with the period of interpellation and debate, and period of amendment. And I furthermore move for the approval and adoption of this.
There's now an
consolidated
omnibus
proposed
motion.
resolutions.
There is now an omnibus motion to dispense with the period of interpellation, debate, and amendment, and for the approval of the consolidated resolutions 557 and 559. Is there any seconds?
Second the motion. Second.
It's been seconded. There being no objection. The consolidated resolutions 557 and 559 are now approved and adopted.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, we are now on the other matters, Mr. Speaker. May we respectfully recognize MP Anayati.
We recognize the lady from Maguindanao.
Mr. Speaker, Majority Floor Leader and colleagues in this august body, in pursuance of the provisions of the Bangsamoro Organic Law, there is a need for us to fill up the vacant position of a Deputy Chief Minister.
For Western Mindanao. For Western Mindanao.
Correct.
Yeah, Deputy Chief Minister for Western Mindanao.
Yes, Deputy Chief Minister, Vice the late Abdul Sarin. Mr. Speaker, may I highly nominate Member of the Parliament, Al-Akhir Jikiri, gentleman from Sulu, as Deputy Chief Minister of the BTA. Mr. Speaker.
Yes, there is now a motion. There is now a nomination to fill a motion to fill up the vacancy in the office of the Deputy Chief Minister, left by the Abdul Sahrin. And there is now a nomination. It is our colleague MP Al-Akhir Jikiri has been nominated to be the Deputy Chief Minister. Is there any second? MP Maysara.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. Second the motion, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Damon Latif has already seconded. Yes, MP Jo Lorena.
Mr. Speaker, I will also join MP Maysara and seconding the motion, considering that the provision of the law is mandatory. Section 25 of 11054, particularly in Article 5, made mention that there shall be 2 Deputy Chief Ministers who shall be nominated by the Chief Minister. Since the death of Deputy Minister Sarin, we don't have Deputy Minister for Western Mindanao. It is time that in this period of extension that we have a Deputy Minister for Western Mindanao in order not to negate the programs intended by the Bangsamoro government to the Western Mindanao area. So I second and I will urge my colleague in the Parliament to support this motion with nomination of Al-Akhir Jikiri so that we will be able to consolidate the Bangsamoro people in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Floor Leader. There is now a nomination. There was a motion to fill in the vacancy of the Deputy Chief Minister, and there was an accompanying nomination, and it was seconded. What is now the pleasure of the body?
It's already seconded.
It's already seconded.
Yes,
we can now approve it.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
So therefore, there being no objection to the motion and to the nomination, we have now a new Deputy Chief Minister in the person of MP Al-Akhir Jikiri. Congratulations. Please stand, Brother Al-Akhir Jikiri. Yeah. May we hear from our brother MP Al-Akhir Jikiri? Yung acceptance speech mo daw, brother.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Unang-una sa lahat, nais ko nagpapasalamat sa mahal natin Allah sa mga sa opportunity o kaya responsibilidad binigay sa akin bilang Deputy Chief Minister for the Island Provinces. At the same time, sa mga leaders ng MNLF and also the leaders of the MNLF, especially our Chief Minister Murad Ibrahim. Maraming salamat po. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Majority Floor Leader.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. After that, Mr. Speaker, I have an other agenda on the other matters, Mr. Speaker. I will now announce upon the submission of names from the majority bloc, those who would like or have interest to be members of the parliamentary committees. I have now read the names of those members, Mr. Speaker. On the Committee on Ways and Means, Mr. Speaker, Chairperson MP Paisalin Tago, members MP Attorney Waida Pakasam, MP Architect Edward Guerra, MP Raisa Jajuri, MP Ana Tarhata Basman, MP Abdul Wahab Pak, MP Abdullah Hashim, MP Prof. Eddie Ali, MP Narciso CEO Iki, MP Kadapi Mangudadato, MP Mudayaw M. Sakar, MP Attorney Maysara Di Nandamon Latif, MP Romeo Saliga, MP Abdul Mu'min Mujahid, MP Abraham Burahan, and on the minority block, Mr. Speaker, this is in coordination with the minority block, Mr. Speaker, headed by the minority floor leader. On the Committee on Ways and Means, MP Attorney Rasul Mitmug Jr. and MP Amil Bahar Mawalin. On the Committee on Good Government, Accountability of Public Offices and Investigation, also known as the Blue Ribbon Committee, Chairperson, MP Attorney Lalan Tiali Jr. Members, MP Muhagir Iqbal, MP Attorney Raisa Jajuri, MP Attorney Ana Tarhata Basman, MP Engineer Aida Silungan, MP Prof. Eddie Ali, MP Attorney Baida C. Pakasam, MP Abdullah Hashim, MP Ali Osalik, MP Narciso C. Iki, MP Abdullah Gayak, MP Marjani Makasalong, MP Mudayaw M. Sakar, MP Attorney Maysara Dandamon Lip, MP Attorney Paisalin Tago, MP Abdul Muhmin E. Mujahid, MP Abraham Burahan, MP Romeo Sema, MP Kadapi Mangudadato, MP Hamid Aminuddin Bara, MP Muhammad Yaakob, MP Baymaleha Kandaw, MP Diamla Ramos, and on the minority block, Mr. Speaker, MP Engineer Baintan Patuan and MP Suharto M. Ambulugto. On the Committee on Ethics and Privileges, Chairperson, MP Attorney Omar Yasir Sema, members, Attorney Raisa Jajuri, MP Said Selendab, MP Ibrahim Ali, MP Muhammad Yaakob, MP Romeo Saliga, MP Faiz Aliodin, MP Dr. Susana Nayatin, MP Muslimin Jakilan, MP Attorney Maysara Latif, MP Abdul Muhmin Mujahid, MP Abdullah Gayak, MP Sahi Ujja, MP Attorney Jose Lorena, MP Abdul Wahab Pak, and on the minority block, MP Engineer Don Mustafa Loong, and MP Rasul Ismail. On the Committee on Amendments, Revisions, and Codifications of Laws, Chairperson, MP Attorney Jose Lorena, members, Attorney Raisa Jajuri, MP Attorney Ana Tarhata Basman, MP Muhagir Iqbal, MP Attorney Maysara Di Latif, MP Hamid Aminuddin Bara, MP Attorney Paisalin Tago, MP Faiz Aliodin, MP Attorney Ubaida Pakasam, MP Abdul Muhmin Mujahid, MP Abraham Burahan, MP Muslimi Lidasan, MP Dr. Susana Nayatin, MP Prof. Eddie Ali, MP Kadapi Mangudadato, and from the minority block is MP Attorney Suharto Ambulugto and MP Rasul Mitbug, Mr. Speaker. And that is all, Mr. Speaker. And on the other matter, Mr. Speaker, as a result of the ex officio membership of some of the members of the Parliament
leaving vacancies on the some of the committees. I would like to announce, Mr. Speaker, on this, before this plenary, Mr. Speaker, that on the Committee on Agriculture, Fisheries and Agrarian Reform, MP Attorney Omar Sema was become a ex officio due to ex officio membership. He will be replaced by MP Ali B. Saki as a new member. And on the Committee on Health, again, MP Nabil Tan on the Committee of Health, due to his membership, ex officio membership, he will be replaced, Mr. Speaker, to our new members of this Parliament, MP Al-Akhir Jikiri, Mr. Speaker. And on, as well as on the Committee on Human Settlements and Development, due to ex officio membership of MP Zaur Rahman Adjong, he will be replaced by MP Al-Akhir Jikiri, Mr. Speaker. And on the Committee on Transportation and Communication, due to ex officio membership of MP Zaur Rahman Adjong, he will be replaced by MP Attorney Paisalin Tago as a new member. And the Committee on Science and Technology, due to ex officio membership of MP Attorney Omar Yasir Sema, he will be replaced by MP Jamila D. Ramos, Mr. Speaker. And the Committee on Basic, Higher and Technical Education, due to death of MP Muhammad Zainuddin Bato, and due to ex officio membership of Zia Rahman Iyadjong, again, MP Al-Akhir Jikiri will be member of Committee on Basic, Higher and Technical Education, as well as MP Maysara Dandamon Latif. On the Committee on Environment and Natural Resources, Mr. Speaker, due to the death of MP Muhammad Zainuddin Bato, and due to ex officio membership of Zia Rahman Adjong and Attorney Nabil Tan, they will be replaced by MP B. Abdullah Hashim, MP Mudayo Sakar, again, and MP Maysara Dandamon Latif. And on the Public Works and Highways Committee, Mr. Speaker, due to death of MP Zainuddin Bato and MP Nabil Tan, as due to ex officio membership of MP Attorney Nabil Tan, he will be replaced by MP Ali Osalik and MP Prof. Eddie Ali as a new member. And Local Government Committee on Local Government, due to death of MP Muhammad Zainuddin P. Bato as member, he will be replaced by the new member, MP Al-Akhir, and the new Deputy Chief Minister for Western Mindanao, MP Al-Akhir Jikiri as new member of the Committee on Local Government, Mr. Speaker. That will be all, Mr. Speaker.
Can you furnish each
yes,
member
I will
of
now
the
furnish the copy
list
of this
majority
to
floor
the Secretary General, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I forgot also, Mr. Speaker, on the Committee on Finance, Budget and Management, Mr. Speaker, due to ex officio membership of Attorney Nabil Tan and Attorney Omar Yasir Sema, they will be replaced by MP Mudayo Sakar as new member and Jamil Makaraya as new member, Mr. Speaker.
The implication is all ex officio members are still
members
ex
of
officio
all
members.
committees, Mr. Speaker. With right to vote, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
I will furnish copy to the
I will recognize first the gentleman from Lanao del Sur. What is your other matter, MP Rimbang?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Regarding po dun sa clarification sa mga committee on local government, hindi pa ba yan, kung mag-member dyan, hindi tayo ma-affected dun sa mga dati nating committee, Mr. Speaker? Yung MP, yung para sa parliamentary committees ay wala pong limitation sa membership. Doon lang po sa statutory committees, Mr. Speaker. Okay, Mr. Speaker. Pero paano tayo makabil, Mr. Speaker, mag-member? Pag-aralan ko po, Mr. Speaker. Okay. Thank you po, Madjo. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you po.
Yeah, the Deputy Speaker Hatimil Hassan is recognized. Any other matter?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My other matter is that, Mr. Speaker, I would like to
please unmute.
recommend. Mr. Speaker, can you hear me?
Please unmute yourself, Deputy Speaker Hassan.
Hello. Marinig na ako? Can you hear me?
We cannot hear you.
Oh. My speaker is open. Hello.
Yeah, you're okay now.
Hello. Pwede na, makimarinig na ako. Mr. Speaker.
Yes, you can proceed.
Oh, yes. I'd just like to nominate sa Minister of Public Works si MP
problema sa headset.
Muslimin Jaquilan, kung pwede pakimembro na rin siya sa sa Minister of Public Works sa Committee on Public Works. Si
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
MP,
Noted, Deputy Speaker Hassan.
Thank you. Thank you.
So any other matter?
There being no other matters, Mr. Speaker, I move to adjourn this session until tomorrow because I will make a new OB vote tomorrow, Mr. Speaker.
Session adjourned until 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.